What you doing, readers? I'm the AC, and I'm going to talk about Mark of a Demon by Despoina Kemeridou. Really hoping that's close to how you say her name. Still terrible at names, but let's move on from that. So, I already actually read and made a video for another book written called Fated to Meet You, which I also enjoyed. It was one of the first book review discussion videos I made, so I was actually really excited to see that there was another book, and it's also a really good one too. It was a pretty quick read, but also gives me plenty to talk about and just continue to ponder on. So what is it about? It is about this baby named Heather that is born, but with a weak heart, and the mother sacrifices herself to a demon named Naberius. Oh, name's hard. And what he does is he kind of just gives a piece of his heart to Heather to keep her alive, but she's still not going to live a long life, and it just depends on how long his demon power lasts as to how long she's going to live. But besides that, she still grows up. She lives with her Aunt Sarah, but she's kind of bullied a little bit because red hair, green eyes, which is kind of I don't know, I would say a trope. It's an interesting thing. I see a lot of stories, especially in manga and anime, where characters with red hair, green eyes always have some kind of special thing about them when they're the main character. I don't know where that comes from, but yeah, she gets bullied for it. I don't know why. I guess kids are mean. She also has a mark on her chest that she keeps hidden. But yeah, people would just assume she's like some kind of witch or something to do with demons. I don't know. I guess red hair, green eyes aren't that common in wherever this place is. But eventually, her aunt has to move in with an old love, someone who was in love with her, so she kind of moves in with this guy named Peter and his nephew named Finn. Finn starts taking a liking to Heather, and she has to turn him down eventually, but then Heather eventually moves to a different school, makes a new friend, her only friend really, named Christy, and things seem to be going better. She's getting used to the bullying, she kind of just ignores it. Until one day Christy gets sick, she gets bullied, and she finally meets the demon, who she calls Nabe. So that's what I'm going to say, because the other name is tricky for me to say for some reason. And after he saves her, they eventually start seeing each other more. And of course, Sarah doesn't like it. She's not happy that she's still messing around with a demon. She didn't want him to be involved with her any. But that doesn't stop. He says he doesn't have the strength to stay away from her. And of course they get closer. They start falling for each other. They even have sex. And then this is when a couple more problems start to happen. Because now other demons that she could already see, now they're starting to get aggressive. Now they're wanting to eventually attack her because they're afraid she could be pregnant with a demon baby. And they don't want some kind of mixed blood baby to happen. So he has to protect her. And this kind of goes on for a little bit. It's all about Heather wanting to see Nabe wanting to see her, Sarah wanting neither of them to see each other. But it's love. She starts falling in love with a demon. She can't help it. He can't help it. Sarah seems to kind of just give up a little bit, but of course she's worried about her niece. She raised her since she was a baby in her mother's place. Eventually, Nabe and Heather see less of each other, and that's because Nabe starts getting weak. And when he starts getting weak, that means her life is getting close to the end. So eventually, another demon shows up named Phoenix to bring her to hell, to bring her a Nabe. But not only that, Heather also finally gets to see her mother, very briefly. And, you know, she's not mad at her mom for what she did. She's forgiven her. It's a nice little moment. Then she moves on to Nabe, who's weak. Nobody gives her the rest of his heart so that she can live on a full life, and then he dies, kind of disappears, and she gets to go back on with her life. Now, this is where a lot of my pondering kind of starts. Throughout the book, I was kind of wondering, I was like, did he only like her because, one, he's a demon. He could be like conniving. He could have some kind of deal. And that's what Sarah was worried about this whole time. Like, there was something hidden and this is all going to go bad. It never does. And the other thing is, does he only like her because she has a piece of his heart? Literally, their hearts are connected. It's like, that's one that made the most sense to me. Then there's a part, whenever Heather first finds out everything that's going on, he says ever since he saw her as a baby, he knew he had to save her. And that's weird for a couple reasons. One, it's kind of insinuating he already was starting to love her, like her as a baby, which is always creepy. If you can always, and you can also look at it like he was just wanting to honor a mother's loving wish. He was just really moved by the mom wanting to save his daughter's life, and that's what he was drawn to. And then you look at how this could actually end. I think this ending of this story could have happened in two places. It could have happened on the last chapter before the epilogue, or it could be the actual epilogue. It depends on how you want to see this play out. The first ending, if it ends on the last chapter before the epilogue, it'll be more of a tragedy. Nabe gives up his heart so his love can move on and live a whole life. If you think of it like that, like I kind of did at first, it could be like, oh, the reason he felt like he had to save this baby was because of fate. They talk about fate a little bit, and it was like, it was his fate to save this baby, give his heart to her so she could live a full life. But if the epilogue comes in, turns out Nabe went up to heaven. There was an angel that greeted him, talked about how different he was compared to the rest of the demons, and how he really loved humans and wanted to help Heather, and turns him into a human again. Then this is the happy ever after ending, and Heather and Nabe get to live together both as humans for as long as they live. And then this is when it goes back to being creepy, and it's like, oh, so did he actually love her as a baby? Is that weird? Or is it just his difference as a demon, the fact that he does actually like humans, and that's what made it different? It's not really like he liked her as a baby. It's just, I think it's more about honoring the mom's wish and honoring the mom's love. I don't know. But, you know, what this whole kind of fate thing, it's like, oh, it was fate to fall in love with this baby when he first sees her. That's kind of weird. I don't like to look at it more like he was just honoring the moment. But yeah, enough of that. And it does make sense. There's a time when they're talking about Nabe actually lived on Earth and among humans until the humans, I guess, found out who he was, that he was a demon. Even though he didn't cause any trouble, they still burned down his place to live. Then he left, didn't come back until Heather was born. And yeah, it's just a weird thing. I guess it's all about fate. But hey, the story is nice. It's a really nice, touching story. And depending on how you look at it, it can be a romance, it can be a tragedy, it can have a happy ending. I mean, it technically does have a happy ending with the epilogue, but depending on how you look at it, it could be a little bit different to you. So, I like this. There's a lot for me to think about, and a lot for me to talk about. And yeah, it's just a great story. So, if you haven't seen it yet, Mark of a Demon. Check it out. Quick read, but really worth it. And yeah, if you already read it, let me know what you thought. And if you like what I have to say about it, go and like the video. And if you want to see me talk more about what I'm reading, subscribe to my channel. You can see when I do all that. But until next time, I'm the AC. Thank you for watching, and bye.